Hey there, Benchmarks members. Wanted to check in with you to give you a legislative update. First, I want to talk quickly about the budget. Looks like we're going to have one. Pretty exciting. It's been a while. We are expecting the budget to come out probably somewhere around June 22nd. Now, that depends on if you're talking to a House member, a Senate member, and what time of the day you talk to them, because it does keep changing. But it really does look most likely that we will see this budget come out the week of June 22nd. What the legislature would like to do is to be done by July 2nd. So after the budget comes out, they will spend the remainder of the time between then and July 2nd trying to quickly move through any of the bills that are left that they want to get through this session. So it will be a very, very crazy few weeks. Speaking of bills and some crazy times, Tara sent out to all of you a video of the 8.5, yes, that's right, 8.5 hour meeting that we had last Thursday with the House Legislative Oversight Committee. Now, this committee was created as an opportunity to bring in different organizations that legislators had concerns or questions about something that they were doing. And this particular meeting was focused on Mecklenburg DSS. But in addition to Mecklenburg DSS, they also wanted to bring the police chief for Mecklenburg as well as the sheriff. And it was focused around the tragic and horrific death of Dominique Moody, who was a 6, soon-to-be 7-year-old girl who had autism, who was found weighing 27 pounds when she was deceased, covered in feces and ligature marks on her arms and her legs, as well as many different types of abuses on her body. It was absolutely horrific, and we don't even know all the story yet. And the expectation is as we get more details, this story will only get worse. There were 13 reports to DSS related to abuse and neglect, and there were over 50 calls to law enforcement on the home. Now, the calls to law enforcement covered all kinds of things. It was everything from domestic violence to their animals running loose in the yard. There was a whole variation of things that they were called out for. But I would say one of the most significant was they were called at one point to search the home for an individual who had been charged with armed robbery and murder, which they found hiding in this home, which meant police went in the home, cleared all the rooms to find this fugitive and to remove him. And police never made a report. Out of the 13 reports that were made to DSS, they were all screened out. One of those reports, the caseworker had recommended removal of the child and had pictures of what again looked like ligature marks on her arms that later was said they thought it was a nail in the crib, which I think would also raise concerns. But she recommended that the child be removed. The supervisor overruled it, and the child stayed. There were so many red flags that were missed, and by various entities that were involved with this home. It is just a tragic story. In that meeting, there was questions about whether or not the actions of the social workers rose to some level of criminal indictment. And what that was around was they had not followed statutory requirements for making some different types of reports and following through. And did that meet the level of some sort of criminal investigation? That meeting was on Thursday. Yesterday, there was a letter that was sent from the Oversight Committee chairs to the district attorney for Mecklenburg County, and Tara also sent this letter to you, out to membership, and it directed the DA in Mecklenburg to do an investigation on all the social workers and supervisors and anyone related to the Dominique Moody case to determine if there should be any criminal investigations. As you can imagine, this has had quite an impact on the county DSSs, and my expectation is it could have a chilling effect on the ability to recruit and retain social workers in the field, which is already a challenge, but I think this definitely will raise additional concerns for people when making decisions whether or not to take this job. So out of that, there also came a bill. It is House Bill 1144. 1144. It's called the Dominique Moody Safety Act. This bill would create a 8-member team, a supervisor, and one person in each of the 7 regions. So 7 staff, 1 supervisor, that would act as the person who would assist in that region on any cases that met a threshold for what they would consider the high-risk case. So they could then go in and assist the county in supporting decision-making so that hopefully we didn't have any more of these kinds of cases fall through the cracks. In addition to that, it also takes away the immunity for counties when they take actions that are illegal. So if they are not following the law and they end up creating some sort of problem, the immunity that the state DSS has that extends to the county will not be applied in that case. And so the intent of this is to try to encourage accountability with the county commissioners, with the DSS board, with the county manager, that all of them are ensuring a level of accountability with the DSSs. Now, this is important, and I'll just give you an example. State DSS was brought into a county that they had to take over, and they identified that the director was not competent to be the director, and she did not have the skills and knowledge. And the county insisted on keeping her anyway. So they had come out, fixed a lot of things in the county. They left, and the problems reoccurred again because, again, they didn't have the leadership change. So they actually defied what the state directed them to do. House Bill 612 gave authority that took away the immunity if they defy state DSS. And in this bill, Dominique Moody bill, it will extend also where they will lose immunity if they do not, if they violate state statute or federal statute. And in this case, they violated making some referrals they were supposed to related to Dominique Moody. The other thing that we may see is there were some, I think there may be some additional things added to this bill. Partly it depends on how quickly the budget moves and the appetite to spend money on this. But there was 2 specific areas that were brought up that may potentially end up in this bill. We shall see. One is there was questions about whether or not a statewide hotline for reports of abuse and neglect would have potentially kept this from happening. And the answer was by the panel of leadership that they thought it would have prevented this from happening, that because the reports that were screened out had actually met the threshold to be screened in, that if there was a statewide entity doing this, that the consistency in it would have made it more unlikely that those would have been screened out. So that may be something that we see. I'm not sure if it would possibly get through in short session, but it may be a long session item that's looked at. And then also there was an expert who came and reported on predictive analytics. So there was actually a predictive analytics pilot that took place in New Hanover. It was a partnership between SAS and Duke Endowment with New Hanover County DSS. It had great outcomes, but the state was not particularly supportive of it. And New Hanover knew they couldn't just keep getting Duke grants because Duke wouldn't continue to pay. So eventually they did drop the program. But in that meeting, there was a woman from UNC School of Social Work who had an expertise in this and talked about how predictive analytics could have very well prevented all of these red flags from being missed, and that Dominique would still be alive. So again, there may be some changes. I also want to let you know the House Bill 1144 that I just mentioned, Dominique Moody bill, it may get a new number. It has to do with this will have to have money in it, and it'll probably have to be put in a Senate bill. I know this is all a bit confusing, but there's some logistics at this point to get a bill through that has money in it. So it's probably going to have to be rolled into another bill. So if you are looking for 1144 and you don't see it, and what you think it should be there, it may be because the bill's already been changed to another number, and I'll keep updating you on this. The other thing is, you may remember we did get last year House Bill 612 passed, which was a child welfare omnibus bill. That bill is having some technical changes. It's now House Bill 1191. It's also called the Fostering Care and NC Act. There is mostly technical corrections, but there are a couple things in there that are substantive. What's interesting about that, though, is there were items that were in the original 612 bill that Representative Sarah Stevens pushed back on, and it resulted in a number of things being removed. Sarah Stevens just announced today that she will be resigning. She is running for a state Supreme Court justice position, and she's decided she needs to leave now to focus on her campaign. So she will be leaving June 16th, which means there's a possibility, and I don't know if the bill sponsor will do this or not, but there's possibility that some of those items could be put back in since she will no longer be there to oppose. Also, there was a bill, Senate Bill 872. It's the Innovations Waiver Tiers. I've heard this bill mentioned in a couple different places. It is not currently moving. This bill did two things. It required a study that would look at whether the tiers were the right thing to do, and also look at the wait list to make determinations of, are folks on the wait list accessing 1915 waiver services that they could get now? Are they getting them consistently? What kind of supports could they get before they get on the waiver? What could I do for them as far as like accessing services? So there's a number of different things that they want to look at. There's been quite a bit of pushback on the idea of the tiers. And again, this bill has not moved at this point. I'm not sure that it will. There's another bill that's it's House Bill 1147. This is an IDD omnibus bill. I bring this up. It's not moving. It's not going to move at all. But the reason I bring it up, it is completely sponsored by Democrats, which is why it's not going to move. However, polls are looking like it's possible that the House could flip from Republicans to Democrats. And there is an IDD caucus on the House side that's very invested in seeing better and better outcomes for individuals with IDD. And so this bill may revive itself in long session, and there's some great things in it. So something we want to just keep our eye on, because again, if the House flips, this may be something that will start moving. There's also another bill, House Bill 300, which is the social media and AI safety. This bill has been in session for a few years. It's been in different forms, but it really is around trying to address the addictive nature of social media for young people. And that's pretty much anyone 16 and under, as they've defined it in this bill. And so it's talking about trying to control the algorithms that the social media platform uses to lure the children into longer and longer periods of time to be on the social media platform. It talks about the protections of children and what they see. So there's some really good things in here. I bring it up because it's actually moving more than we've seen it move in the past, and we're hopeful we'll see something like this end up getting through and becoming law. That would be fabulous. Last on bills, I just want to bring up, there was the passage of House Bill 696, and that was the rebase bill that paid for the Medicaid rebase. And there was a lot of other language in there about other items, one of which was ABA and putting like caps on the hours. And there was a number of different restrictions that were put in place for ABA. And some of those were problematic, and the state was likely going to get sued for those changes. Legislators realized there were some problems with some of the substantive language that they put in House Bill 696. We were told that there were going to be changes to address those. There hasn't been any bills that have come out yet. I had conversations with leadership in both the House and the Senate around this today, and they're still hoping to find a venue, a bill of some sort, to get those fixes in place. It may just end up in the budget, but none of those have moved at this time. So I know some of you, this is of great interest, so I just want to make sure you know about it. So that is a very quick update. I hope everyone is having a great week. If you have concerns or questions, do not hesitate to reach out to me. Texting is the best way to get me right now, because I'm not having a lot of time to read emails. So if I'm taking a while to get back to you on the emails to me, I apologize. It's just a little wild when we're in the midst of session. But we always look forward to hearing from you. If for some reason you don't hear back from me, please feel free to reach out to one of our team members. Everyone on the Benchmarks team is always welcoming of any kind of feedback or questions that you might have. Hope everyone has a great week, and feel free to check in with me if you have questions. Bye, everyone.